Okay, let's unpack this. For this deep dive, we're sinking into a truly glittering classic from the late 19th century, Oscar Wilde's play Lady Windermere's Fan.
Right. And our source, well, it's the full text of the play itself. It's more than just a story, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's really a direct window into Victorian society.
Yeah, you get the manners, the morals, or maybe lack thereof sometimes, and oh, that wit, that absolute unmistakable Wildean wit.
Exactly, sparkling. So our mission today really is to navigate these first three acts. We want to pull out the key characters, the central conflict.
That scandal that really sets everything off.
Precisely. And also, maybe crucially, some of those surprising insights and paradoxes that Wilde just layers into the dialogue. It's so clever.
So it's about going beyond just the plot points, really understanding what the play shows us about that world, and maybe, about our own, too.
Absolutely. It's kind of a shortcut to understanding the commentary he's weaving in there. It's a very, very clever piece of writing.
Okay, so let's jump right into Act I then. The scene opens, Lady Windermere's drawing room in London. It's her 21st birthday, Tuesday afternoon.
Right? And she's arranging roses, admiring this beautiful fan her husband, Lord Windermere, gave her, planning this big party for the evening. Everything seems, well, perfect. Almost rigidly so.
And you understand why it feels rigid almost immediately, don't you? Lady Windermere, she's set up as this epitome of a good woman.
Well, good by her own definition anyway, which she got from her rather stern aunt. She sees everything in black and white. Right and wrong. There's no compromise for her.
Yeah. Life isn't casual, it's a sacrament, she says, built on things like love and sacrifice. Definitely not a speculation. She genuinely thinks the modern age is, well, pretty bad.
Which makes the arrival of Lord Darlington so interesting, because he's the complete opposite, isn't he? His compliments. For starters, she immediately thinks they're insincere things he doesn't mean.
And his whole philosophy on life is just wild by comparison. He suggests pretending to be bad actually shows a sweet and modest disposition.
Yeah, compared to people pretending to be good, who he thinks were just conceited. And he finds this whole idea of dividing people into good and bad.
Yeah.
It's absurd.
He says they're simply charming or tedious. That's it.
It's a wonderfully cynical take, isn't it? And for him, life is too complex for these rigid rules Lady Windermere lives by. That whole idea of being sacrificed.
Yeah.
Something to be avoided at all costs, basically.
He's the one who gives us that amazing line, I can resist everything except temptation. Classic Wilde. And he calls it the modern affectation of weakness.
It's all this surface cynicism, but then he says something quite interesting to Lady Windermere. He wants to be her great friend because, she may want a friend someday.
That does feel like a little flicker of something more serious under all the wit, doesn't it?
It does. And almost immediately, that potential need for a friend comes up. Darlington puts forward this hypothetical situation.
Right, the one about the husband who gets involved with a woman of more than doubtful character, pays her bills, everything. Does the wife then have the right to console herself?
And Lady Windermere's reaction, utter horror. No way. If the husband is vile, the wife must not be vile too. She insists vileness is a terrible thing.
No gray areas there at all. Which sets things up perfectly for the next arrival. The Duchess of Berwick and her daughter, Lady Agatha.
Ah, the Duchess. She is society, capital S.
Yeah.
Obsessed with appearances. Who's acceptable, who's not. Complaining the most dreadful people seem to go everywhere.
And she stresses how her own house is select, free of any scandal.
And Lady Windermere just jumps right in agreeing, I will have no one in my house about whom there is any scandal, which is just dripping with dramatic irony.
Because the Duchess is about to drop a massive scandal right in her lap.
Exactly. But first, we get the Duchess's incredibly cynical, pragmatic view on marriage. It's a game, she says, that's going out of fashion. Wives hold the honors, but invariably lose the odd trick.
Men, she says, don't matter in society's judgment, not like women do. They're monsters, apparently, who never become good.
But wives just have to feed them well, avoid scenes, and they'll always come back, slightly damaged, of course. It's bleak, but so matter-of-fact.
But her main reason for being there is to warn Lady Windermere about that horrid woman, Mrs. Erlynne.
She paints quite a picture, doesn't she? Dresses well, yes, but has at least a dozen pasts. Completely unacceptable socially.
And then the bombshell. The Duchess claims Lord Windermere is completely infatuated about her, visiting her constantly.
4 or 5 times a week, she says, and points out Mrs. Erlynne arrived with nothing, now has a lovely house, ponies.
Yeah.
Strongly suggesting she has got a great deal of money out of somebody.
And she links it directly. She knows it's poor dear Windermere.
Lady Windermere's first reaction is just disbelief. Oh, I can't believe it. She mentions her 2-year marriage, her baby.
Mm.
It feels impossible.
But that seed of doubt is planted, isn't it? As soon as the Duchess leaves, she remembers Arthur's bank book in his desk.
She decides to look, finds nothing in the first one, breathes a sigh of relief, but then she spots a second book. Locked.
Oh, that's the killer moment. Her certainty just crumbles. She cuts it open.
And there it is, multiple entries. Mrs. Erlynne, large sums too, £600, £700, £400. It makes it feel very real, very specific.
Her reaction is just visceral horror.
Oh, it is true. It is true. How horrible.
And who walks in right then? Lord Windermere. He sees the cut-open book, and his first reaction is actually to criticize her for spying.
But she's way past caring about propriety now. Her world's just fallen apart. She accuses him straight out. Mad infatuation, squandering monstrous sums on this infamous woman.
And she feels personally degraded, stained. That's key for her, isn't it? His supposed sin makes her feel impure. Love given versus love bought.
Windermere tries to explain. Well, sort of. He denies getting her the house, but admits giving her money. He hints at her past.
Yeah, says she was once honored, loved, respected, then lost everything 20 years ago. Married young, even younger than Lady Windermere, but he won't say who she is or why he's helping her. Just that she wants back into society and needs Lady Windermere's help. And then comes the request that's just staggering.
He asks her to invite Mrs. Erlynne to their party tonight.
Lady Windermere calls it mad. Her refusal is absolute, based entirely on her moral code. A truly repentant woman, she says, wouldn't want to rejoin the society that saw her fall. Absolutely, she refuses.
And that's when it really blows up. He calls her hard. She calls him weak. He insists, I insist upon your asking Mrs. Erlynne tonight. Writes the card himself when she won't. Sends it off.
Lady Windermere's final threat is pretty intense. If that woman comes, she'll insult her, even strike her across the face with the fan he gave her.
Wow, using his own gift against them.
She declares her life separate from his, tells him to forbid Mrs. Erlynne from coming to avoid scandal. But he says he cannot.
She leaves, determined.
Yeah.
And he's left utterly despairing. Sinks into a chair saying, my God, what shall I do? I dare not tell her who this woman really is. The shame would kill her.
So there it is, the big secret. He knows who she is, and it's something devastating. Which throws us right into Act 2 with enormous tension.
Exactly. The scene shifts to the party itself. Later that night, music, guests, chatter, everywhere. But Lady Windermere, receiving guests, is clearly just heartbroken, trying to keep it together.
And society's there in full force. The Duchess is still trying to marry off Agatha to Mr. Hopper, the Australian millionaire with the circular tins.
That detail is so wonderfully specific and cutting. The small talk is just completely superficial about the last ball of the season.
Then Lord Augustus Lorton, dummy, he talks to Windermere. Turns out he's heard the gossip too. Calls Mrs. Erlynne a demmed nuisance.
Because she has no relations, apparently, which makes her socially awkward to place, but somehow she manages to seem demmed respectable. It's quite funny.
And he asks Windermere point blank, would you do that? Meaning, would you actually introduce this woman to your wife?
And Windermere confirms she is coming. Says she has received a card. And for Lord Augustus, that's it. If the Windermeres invited her, she must be all right now.
It shows how easily society accepts things once the right people give the nod, doesn't it? Surface appearances are everything.
Meanwhile, Lady Windermere is falling apart. She asks Lord Darlington to hold her fan again. Needs that friend he offered. She's still insisting that woman is not coming here tonight.
Clinging to that hope, Windermere makes one last attempt to reason with her, warns her not to annoy Mrs. Erlynne, says she'll bring shame and sorrow on us both. Begs her, only trust me.
But her trust is gone. Her response is really cynical now. She talks about all the unhappy wives in London who do trust their husbands.
And then she arrives. Mrs. Erlynne walks in, very beautifully dressed and very dignified.
Lady Windermere drops her fan, just bows coldly. But Mrs. Erlynne bows sweetly, compliments Lady Windermere. It's a fascinating power dynamic right from the start.
Mrs. Erlynne tells Windermere coming was the wisest thing I ever did, and immediately shows how skilled she is socially. She can handle the men, she says, but needs help with the women.
And she proves it instantly. Charming Lord Augustus. Society is buzzing, people are staring, whispering.
But she just sails through it. Cecil Graham even remarks to his aunt, that woman can make one do anything she wants. Then Mrs. Erlynne immediately flatters the aunt. So smooth.
Lady Plendale finds the whole thing extremely amusing.
Yeah.
Calls Mrs. Erlynne handsome and delivers that classic line, "It takes a thoroughly good woman to do a thoroughly stupid thing," referring to Lady Windermere inviting her.
And she also sees Mrs. Erlynne as potentially useful for distracting her own husband. It's this incredible mix of sharp wit and cold calculation underneath.
Mrs. Erlynne then dances with Windermere, makes a comment about the fools in society. Then they step outside for some business.
Right, the business being her plan to marry Lord Augustus tomorrow. But she needs Windermere to give her a handsome settlement first, £2,200 a year. She calls it needing margin.
Money, marriage, society, it's all transactional for her at this point, or seems to be.
Meanwhile, Lady Windermere, left alone again, tells Lord Darlington Mrs. Erlynne's presence is monstrous, unbearable. She feels utterly degraded.
And Darlington sees his chance, declares his love, urges her to leave Windermere, calls his actions wrong, her position shameful, tells her, be brave, be yourself.
And she's torn. She says she's afraid of being myself. She hesitates, wants to wait for Arthur. Darlington pushes back, calls her like every other woman, no courage, predicts she'll just put up with it all.
He gives her the ultimatum, now or not at all.
And heartbroken, she chooses not at all. He tells her he's leaving England tomorrow. She feels completely alone.
Surrounded by all this superficial party chatter, the Duchess confirming Agatha's engagement, weirdly complaining about Australia itself.
In that moment of isolation, Lady Windermere makes a huge decision. She will leave. She regrets refusing Darlington. She'll go to him now, offer him her life.
She quickly writes a letter to Windermere. Arthur has never understood me. It is he who has broken the bond of marriage, not I. I only break its bondage. Leaves it on the table and walks out.
A huge turning point. And then Mrs. Erlynne comes back from the terrace, learns Lady Windermere just gone out, left a letter.
She sees the letter, recognizes the handwriting, gets this horrible fancy, opens it, reads it.
And this is the massive reveal for her. She sinks down, totally overcome, recognizes the words, the same words that 20 years ago I wrote to her father, calls it her real punishment.
Wow. So the secret's out to us, and to her. Mrs. Erlynne is Lady Windermere's mother, the mother who abandoned her.
Lord Windermere comes in then, almost catches her. He picks up the letter she dropped, recognizes his wife's writing.
But Mrs. Erlynne is quick, snatches it back, pretends it's just an address.
But her whole focus has shifted, hasn't it? She realizes with absolute horror her daughter is about to repeat her own catastrophic mistake.
A completely new feeling takes over this passion to save her child. She needs to get Windermere out of there, now.
And she uses Lord Augustus, tells him take Windermere to the club at once, keep him there as long as possible, promises him a reward tomorrow, threatens him if he fails.
Augustus, completely charmed and baffled, just does it. Which sets up Act 3.
Right, Act 3. Later that night, Lord Darlington's rooms. Lady Windermere is there, waiting. She's cold, terrified. Feels trapped because she left that letter. Arthur would not take me back, she thinks. Even worries Darlington might be brutal, horrible.
And then Mrs. Erlynne walks in. Lady Windermere instantly recoils. All that judgment floods back, calls her infamous, accuses her of being sent by Windermere to lure me back.
She even threatens a public scandal to punish her husband. She's still thinking in terms of revenge and her own wounded pride.
But Mrs. Erlynne flatly denies it. Says Windermere hasn't read the letter, reveals she read it. And to prove it won't be read, she tears it up and throws it in the fire. It should never have been written, she says.
But Lady Windermere just can't trust her, calls her a liar, questions if the burned letter was even hers, says her whole life is a lie, calls her vile, bought and sold, heartless. The condemnation is total.
Despite all that, Mrs. Erlynne pleads with her, go back home, promises never to contact Windermere again. She even reveals the money he gave her wasn't out of love, but hatred, contempt.
That really complicates the picture, doesn't it? It wasn't a simple affair, if that's true.
Exactly. And then she drops the real reason for her hold over Windermere. It's not blackmail. It's his love for you, Lady Windermere. His desire to spare her from shame and disgrace.
So the money, the contact, it was all to prevent some terrible revelation about the past, about who Mrs. Erlynne is.
That's the implication. And she follows it with this incredibly powerful, raw appeal, speaking as a mother, describing the agony of being an outcast, despised, mocked, abandoned, paying for her sin over and over.
She tells Lady Windermere she has made a heart in one who had it not, made it and broken it. Talking about her own maternal feelings, surely reignited and then crushed by her daughter's harsh judgment.
She uses her own ruined life as a warning. And then, the most powerful bit, she invokes Lady Windermere's own child. You have a child. God gave you that child. What answer will you make to God if his life is ruined through you?
Oh, that's hitting her right where it counts. Appealing directly to her sense of duty as a mother, something Lady Windermere herself values highly.
And it works. It breaks through all that rigid judgment. Lady Windermere just dissolves into tears and asks Mrs. Erlynne, "Take me home."
A huge moment of connection. Mrs. Erlynne is filled with this wonderful joy, about to embrace her, when they hear voices.
It's Windermere and the men from the club. They've been kicked out because it's so late.
Lady Windermere panics immediately, thinks Mrs. Erlynne set her up, sent for him.
But Mrs. Erlynne knows she's caught, but her only thought is saving her daughter. Tells her, "Hide behind the curtain, slip out when you can." Never mind me, I'll face them. Total self-sacrifice. She hides herself just as they burst in.
And the men, they just carry on with their cynical, witty banter, gossiping about Mrs. Erlynne, women, marriage.
Cecil Graham delivers that famous definition. A cynic is a man who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. And Dummy adds his bit about the two tragedies in life. Not getting what you want and getting it. Classic Wildean gloom, served with style.
Lord Darlington actually sounds sincere for a moment, though. Says the woman he loves is married, a good woman, the only one he's met, clearly talking about Lady Windermere.
And then, the fan. Cecil Graham spots Lady Windermere's fan on the sofa, jokes about Darlington hiding a woman.
But Windermere sees it, recognizes it instantly. Good God! Seizes it, demands answers from Darlington, rushes towards the curtain where his wife is hiding. He's about to find her.
This is it. Mrs. Erlynne's moment. She steps out from her own hiding place just in time. Calmly claims she took the fan by mistake from Lady Windermere's house earlier.
Takes it right out of Windermere's hand, steps directly into the line of fire, taking all the suspicion onto herself.
And while everyone is reacting to her sudden appearance, her explanation, Lady Windermere slips out from behind the curtain, escapes unseen by the men, saved by the woman she condemned.
It's an incredibly powerful ending to the act. Act 4 just briefly sets up the aftermath. Next afternoon, back in Lady Windermere's morning room.
Yeah, she's on the sofa, totally anxious. Wondering what happened after she left, how she can possibly tell her husband. Fears he knows won't forgive her, she reflects. Life rules us, we do not rule it. Quite a shift from her earlier certainty.
And the maid just confirms Windermere got home at 5 a.m., so she's left hanging, unsure of what he knows or how he'll react. The play leaves that resolution for the very end, which we're not getting into today.
But looking back over these first 3 acts, wow, the play just relentlessly picks apart those simple moral categories Lady Windermere starts with. You see society judging harshly while being full of its own hypocrisy and cynical dealings.
It really does force you to question that whole idea of social hypocrisy versus true morality. Is being good just sticking to rules? Or is there something deeper, maybe messier, like Mrs. Erlynne's sacrifice?
And tied to that is the nature of judgment and forgiveness. Lady Windermere's initial hard and fast rules just seem totally inadequate when faced with, the complexity of Mrs. Erlynne's situation and motives. Forgiveness becomes a much bigger question.
We also get such different takes on love, marriage, and duty. You've got Lady Windermere's shattered idealism, the Duchess's transactional view, Darlington's passion, and Mrs. Erlynne's complicated history with Windermere money given out of hatred, not love.
And maybe the most surprising theme that emerges so strongly is motherhood and redemption. This woman, Mrs. Erlynne, who society has totally written off, finds this incredibly fierce, redemptive purpose in protecting her daughter. It suggests past sins don't negate your capacity for profound good, especially for family. It completely flips our assumptions about who's good and bad.
Absolutely. And threaded through everything is Wilde's incredible wit. It's not just funny lines, those aphorisms. Darlington on temptation, Graham on cynics, Dummy on tragedy. They're sharp critiques of the very world he's showing us.
They make you laugh, but they also make you think. They reveal uncomfortable truths under that polished Victorian surface. They really stick with you.
So, yeah, this deep dive into the first 3 acts of Lady Windermere's Fan, it definitely takes you from that seemingly perfect birthday party into a real storm of suspicion, betrayal, and ultimately that unexpected, profound sacrifice.
We've seen how rigid moral codes can just shatter against messy reality, and how society's judgments often completely miss the mark on what's really driving people.
It really does make you rethink how we define goodness and badness, doesn't it? And maybe how quick we are to draw those lines.
And perhaps it leaves you thinking about this. When the woman labeled infamous performs the most selfless act in the story so far, what does that suggest about where genuine morality might actually be found? And maybe what hidden depths lie beneath the surfaces of those we judge most readily?